Okay, let's dive into this. Chicken mole. I saw something about like up to 30 ingredients in some recipes. That sounds intense.
It can be, yeah. It's definitely a dish with depth. But what's really interesting is its popularity right now.
Right. Apparently, a 45% jump in social media buzz. People are clearly curious.
They are. And I think it taps into this desire for, you know, authentic, really layered flavor, something beyond the usual.
So, for you listening, maybe you want to understand what the fuss is about, but maybe you don't have all weekend to figure it out.
Exactly. Consider this your fast track.
We're looking at a recipe article. It's got the ingredients, the instructions, timing, nutrition, all that stuff. It's been flagged as a must-try for 2025.
Hmm.
And our goal here is pretty simple. Pull out the key stuff, the interesting bits, so you can really get why this dish is considered so special.
It's more than just a recipe, isn't it? It's understanding that culinary history and how it's still relevant today. It's centuries old.
Centuries. Okay, so let's start there.
Yep.
What is it that makes chicken mole stand out? What's the core appeal?
Well, the article sums it up nicely. It talks about this intricate balance of sweet, spicy, smoky, and savory notes.
Okay, intricate balance. That sounds...
It really is. It's not just one thing. It's how all those different elements come together. And like I said, the cultural significance is huge. It's a dish with deep roots in Mexican tradition.
Generations passing it down, you mentioned. That adds another layer entirely. All right, let's break down that flavor profile, starting with probably the most defining part, the chilies.
Absolutely fundamental. This recipe uses dried ancho and chipotle chilies.
Okay.
And it's important to understand they do different jobs. Anchos bring this sort of fruity, mild warmth almost.
Fruity, okay. Not just heat.
Exactly. While the chipotles, that's where you get that characteristic smokiness and a bit more punch.
And the recipe mentions swaps, like guajillo.
Yeah, guajillo if you want it even milder than ancho. Or, interestingly, chipotles in adobo sauce if you can't find dried, which adds its own tangy, smoky thing.
But the big technique seems to be toasting and soaking them first. Why is that so important? Feels like an extra step.
Oh, it's non-negotiable, really. Toasting them gently. You don't want brunk, wakes up all these volatile oils. It transforms any bitterness into, well, complex aroma and flavor.
Okay.
And then soaking just rehydrates them so they can blend smoothly into the sauce later. It unlocks their full potential. You skip this, you miss out on a lot of depth.
Got it. So unlock the flavor, then rehydrate. Makes sense. Now, beyond the chilies, there's sweetness, but maybe not in the way people expect. Chocolate.
Right, and specifically 70% cocoa dark chocolate in this recipe.
Not milk chocolate.
Definitely not. This isn't about making it taste like dessert. It adds this incredible richness, a slight bitterness that balances the other flavors. It adds complexity.
Interesting. And raisins, too.
Yep, raisins for a more direct, natural sweetness and a bit of chewiness. And there's optional brown sugar just to, nudge the balance if needed.
So, complex heat and smoke from chilies, then this deep, slightly bitter sweetness from chocolate and raisins. Okay. What about the nuts and seeds? I see sesame, pumpkin seeds, almonds.
Critical. Absolutely critical for the body and richness of the sauce.
Oh, so texture.
Texture and flavor. Toasting them, just like the chilies, brings out their nuttiness. They contribute fat and substance, which helps thicken the mole and gives it that luxurious mouthfeel. Otherwise, it could be too thin.
Right. You want it to coat the chicken, not just run off.
Precisely.
And then the more familiar flavor base, onions, garlic.
Exactly. You've got your aromatics, onion, garlic, tomatoes building that foundation. Then spices like oregano, Mexican oregano, ideally it's different.
How so?
It's more earthy, maybe slightly citrusy compared to Mediterranean oregano. Then you add cinnamon, cloves, cumin, these warm, earthy notes. It's like building blocks.
Layer upon layer. Okay. And chicken broth is the liquid holding it all
I
together.
like the base liquid.
All right. Ingredient-wise, that's quite the list. Now let's talk technique. What are the real aha moments in the process of making this? Beyond the chili prep we discussed.
Okay, another big one the article highlights is searing the chicken properly and doing it in batches.
Why batches? Just faster.
Not just faster, better browning. If you crowd the pan, the temperature drops and the chicken steams instead of searing.
Oh.
You want that nice golden brown crust. That's the Maillard reaction happening, creating tons of flavor right there on the chicken itself.
Yeah.
That flavor then gets into the sauce. Big difference.
Browning equals flavor. Got it. What else?
The blending. You really need to blend that sauce until it's silky smooth.
Like really smooth.
Yes. No graininess allowed. It might take a few minutes, maybe even blending in batches, depending on your blender. But that velvety texture is characteristic of a good mole.
Okay, patience with the blender. And then simmering.
Yes, the long simmer. This isn't a quick pan sauce. You need to give it time, maybe an hour or more, for all those distinct ingredients to really meld together, deepen, and for the sauce to thicken naturally.
So the flavors marry properly?
Exactly. And
Huh?
one more thing, the resting period after cooking.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that. Why rest it?
It's like resting meat. The flavors continue to develop and harmonize off the heat. The sauce also settles and thickens slightly more as it cools a bit. It just tastes better after a short rest.
Interesting. Okay, so those are key techniques. Now, the big question for many with that ingredient list, time. How much are we actually talking?
It's less intimidating than it sounds. The
Hmm.
recipe suggests about 2 hours total time.
2 hours. Okay.
And this is key, only about 45 minutes of that is active work.
Yeah.
Chopping, searing, blending.
Right.
The rest is mostly simmering time, where you're just letting it do its thing. The article even points out this is about 15% faster than some older, more traditional mole methods.
So complex taste doesn't have to mean constant slaving over the stove. That's good to know. What about nutrition? Any quick highlights for people wondering?
Yeah, it gives a breakdown per serving. Around 485 calories, which is pretty reasonable for a main dish like this. A good whack of protein, about 38 grams.
Oh, wow.
And 6 grams of fiber, which is decent, plus some iron and calcium noted. So overall, quite satisfying and relatively balanced.
And I notice it offers lighter options too. That seems helpful.
Very thoughtful, yeah. Suggestions like using skinless chicken, maybe swapping some chocolate for unsweetened cocoa powder, and a touch of maple syrup for control, using light broth.
Baked tortilla chips instead of fried, maybe?
Exactly. Or bumping up healthy fats with more pumpkin seeds, adding flaxseed. It shows you can adapt it to fit different needs without losing the essence.
That adaptability is great. Okay, so you've made this amazing mole. What do you serve with it? Practical serving suggestions.
The classics work best. Cilantro lime rice cuts through the richness beautifully. Warm tortillas, obviously, for
Without
scooping.
him.
Totally. Pickled red onions add a nice, sharp, acidic contrast. Maybe some simple charred vegetables on the side, black beans, a slice of avocado. All great pairings. Builds a complete plate.
Sounds delicious. Now, to prevent kitchen disasters, what are the common pitfalls the article warns against? Mistakes to avoid?
Good question.
Yeah.
Top of the list. Rushing the chili toasting. Burnt chilies equal bitter mole. No good.
Right.
Not blending the sauce enough, leading to that grainy texture we talked about.
Right.
Using too much chocolate, it can dominate everything else.
Easy to do, I bet.
Yeah. Also, not getting a good sear on the chicken shackle. You lose flavor depth. Letting the sauce reduce too much, making it overly intense or salty. And finally, just dumping all the spices in at once instead of blooming them, like gently heating them in oil first to release their aromas properly.
Blooming the spices. Okay, good tip. What about making it ahead or storing leftovers? Does it keep well?
It keeps fantastically well. In fact, many people say mole is even better the next day.
Right.
Yeah, those flavors just continue to deepen. You can refrigerate it for, say, up to 3 days or freeze it for several months, maybe up to 3.
Wow. Okay.
And making the sauce component ahead of time is a great meal prep strategy. Just gently reheat, maybe adding a splash of broth if it's thickened too much.
That makes a complex dish feel much more manageable for a weeknight, potentially.
Absolutely.
It looks like the article also tried to answer some likely questions up front.
It did, which is helpful.
Yeah.
Like how to do it in an Instant Pot, basically using the saute function, then pressure cooking.
Candy.
It also clarifies, importantly, that not all moles have chocolate. That's a common misconception. Mole is a whole category of sauces,
Good. Wow.
and it talks about adjusting spice. The chipotles are the main heat source here, so you adjust those.
Right.
Plus, how to make a vegetarian version using roasted veggies and vegetable broth.
Nice.
And it even addresses why so many ingredients, explaining it as this historical fusion of indigenous Mexican ingredients with European and other influences over centuries. That's where the complexity comes from.
That context is fascinating. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, what are the main things you want people to take away about this chicken mole recipe?
I think the key thing is that, yes, it has many parts and it requires some care, but the result is this incredibly rewarding, deeply flavored dish that's really unlike anything else.
Yeah.
And its rising popularity really signals, I think, that people are craving these authentic, bold, maybe culturally richer food experiences.
Totally agree. And maybe a final thought for you listening. Just consider how all these seemingly unrelated things, chilies, chocolate, nuts, spices, come together to create something so unique and, frankly, beloved. Perhaps it inspires you to look closer at other global dishes or even just think about unexpected combinations in your own cooking adventures. Anyway, thanks for exploring chicken mole with us today.